Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So it's a very interesting mental model and psychological principle that I honestly learned in AP Psych, which if you grew up in the United States, is just like an advanced placement class that kids like to say and think they're smart. Me being exactly the same. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs is something I think I learned in 11th grade. And I forgot even how old we were back then, maybe like 16, 17. But, the term in mental model has always stuck with me, particularly because, and the Maslow's hierarchy of needs will be on the thumbnail. It also will be on the screen for a little bit so you can analyze with me. But essentially, the top of the pyramid, and sorry, by the way, it is on the background. So if I keep kind of glancing here and there, just know I'm kind of like looking at the mental model itself in the diagram. But I'm absolutely paying attention to you all because you are so precious. Okay. So at the tip of the pyramid, all the way on top, you have self-actualization. And we are going to go bottom up, but I want to talk about the top just for a little bit. So self-actualization, and actually, before we even get to the components and the hierarchy, let's actually just talk about this on a first principles level, right? So if we all agree that we are just human beings who are made of atoms, and atoms are made of protons, neutrons, and electrons, and all of those atoms in microcosmic structures of the universe vibrate at a certain frequency. This is proven fact. So, meaning we as human beings, technically, if we look at it through the lens of this mental model, are always vibrating on the spectrum of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Every single moment you are somewhere on the spectrum. And the people who have mastered, let's say, I like to make analogies to video games because I played lots of video games growing up. Particularly Minecraft was one of them that I spent some time on. And in Minecraft, you have two modes. You have survival mode and you have creative mode. Okay? Now, for me, I honestly liked playing both. Genuinely, I even played before. By the way, this just shows you how old I am. I was playing the beta of Minecraft, so they didn't even have creative mode in the beginning. I was still learning how to use the sticks to make the tools and the pickaxes and all of that. So I think they even just added rain as a feature in Minecraft when I started playing. So that shows you how prehistoric I am. I'm just joking. I'm Gen Z, okay, guys? I'm not that old. Anyways, okay, I like to consider myself a Gen Z elder. I digress. Okay, so you have survival mode and you have creative mode. When I played Minecraft, I liked both because honestly, they were both served its purpose. They both were fun. When I wanted to really kind of feel like I had to build from the ground up, I played survival mode. I foraged logs from the trees. I made a pickaxe, and then that allowed me to increase my velocity to collect wood, therefore build more tools, and then continue to build houses, and then mines, and then find diamond, and then use the diamond. You get it, all right? If you haven't played Minecraft, I don't know, go play it. It's really fun. But regardless, when I was on survival mode, I enjoyed it, but I also enjoyed creative mode. Creative mode is when you literally have all the resources you want, and you can build whatever you want with as many resources as you want. So abundance, pure abundance. And I like to look at life as creative mode versus survival mode. And we are all dropped into this server, right? Earth is just a server. Again, these are my analogies. Take it or leave it. So we are all dropped in these servers. I guess Earth is the main server, and there's sub servers, right? Which would be your cities and all of that, and the micro communities that we have, man-made constructs of society. I'm sorry, guys, for continuing to digress, but we're going to get on this point. So creative mode is essentially self-actualization when you think about it on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it is so important to actually start there, because abundance starts with a state of mind, an internal state of mind. Like, for example, I am a first generation born to immigrants, right? Like, my life has actually had to be within survival mode. However, my parents obviously took care of me, raised me well, and allowed me to really not feel like we were in survival mode. But I knew we were in middle class, lower middle class. My mother and father working very hard every day. It's like I completely understood where we are / were on the social hierarchy, social mobility wise, and like that then conditioned my Maslow's hierarchy of needs. However, with me understanding that, even at a very young age, I still managed to always place myself in the self-actualization component of the spectrum. And I fundamentally believe that most children, innocently enough, without societal programming or even parental programming, operate within self-actualization without knowing it, right? So if you kind of like just examine the innocence of a child and how they just go about life, it is very like creative. It is innocent, it's naive, but it's all within that creative mode. They don't really understand resource allocation to a certain extent. And, of course, kids nowadays are just smarter and whatnot. But, like, in general, kids have this naivete to them that make them so radiant and innocent, right? And it comes from a place of self-actualization. Okay, so what I'm trying to get out is we are all born with inherent self-actualization, and we are taught / gone through the ringer that is life to believe that we are on a lower spectrum of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay, so with that being said, let's continue on the thesis that you want to start with self-actualization, and how to start there is actually channeling your inner child, right? What were you like when you were a kid without truly any expectations or understanding of the world? And it was just you, your thoughts, how you viewed the world, how new everything was, and you just enjoying your experience and experiencing it for what it is without, thinking about how much money is in your bank account, how you fit in the social hierarchy, how much status you have, how you compare yourself to others. All of those things are conditioned, but when we are a child, we don't think about that. We just think about the moment, the present moment. Okay? So our thesis is we need to start with self-actualization first, and then we live from there. But I understand that this isn't, a perfect modality, and not everybody can do that. Like, especially if, let's say, you're struggling to pay rent every month and it's genuinely hard, and you're playing, let's just say, this proverbial life on survival mode. Okay? Even if you are in survival mode, you still need to have aspects of your life for that you can tap into that abundance mindset. Whether it's just like being grateful for your breakfast in the morning, or something like that. But I continue to digress, and digressing is just part of my human brain. So apologies, but also take it or leave it. Okay, so let's talk about why society actually wants you on the lower end of the spectrum for this mental model, right? Well, when somebody is on the basic levels of psychological needs, meaning they need, as an organism, what do you need? You need the sun to survive. You need food to eat. You need water to drink. Okay, that's the base level principles of this reality. And if you are even struggling just to get all of that, then think about how controllable you are, not only to other people, but just to this, for lack of a better word, I know it's a very pop culture term now, the Matrix. Like how vulnerable you are to the Matrix, right? Because that is all you're thinking about. When is my next meal? Think about homeless people. I think that's the easiest. People who don't have a home. That's the easiest way to think about this. They are only thinking about their next meal. That is the only mission critical thing in their mind. They're not thinking about their bank account. They aren't thinking about it. And honestly, at two extreme ends of the spectrum are actually, kind of the same thing. I know this is very abstract, but you could potentially say that is almost as freeing, because you're not thinking about all the other conditioning components like your bank account or how you fit into society. You're just thinking about your next meal. To a certain extent, that can be freeing. Because let's say in between your meals, you're just like, you're probably going to go get some fat or something. Let's just be honest. Anyways, I was walking to the gas station yesterday and I saw a homeless guy, and he just yells, "You are maniacal," out in the air. And I'm just like walking and I'm like, huh? Obviously, I mean, he was probably on Fent or something and saw like a spirit or something. And then just, I don't know. But anyways, continue to digress. That guy was on the lowest level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Moving up, we have safety/needs, which is personal security, health and well-being, stable environment, financial security, and safety nets. So I'd say people in society who are on like safety needs, honestly, I would say if anything, society is trying to push us, lower on this hierarchy of needs at this very moment, especially the middle class. Like, as someone who has grown up in the middle class, and I will say I'm still in the middle class at the moment, but we are obviously moving up socially in terms of social mobility. That's what I mean. And I know my place in the world. Let's just say that. And I like to create this personal lore for myself so that when I do make it very big, which I know I will, quite confident in that, I can say I made it from the bottom, because I think that is what builds the most character. Okay, let's continue on this notion of how society wants you on the lower ends of the spectrum. So safety needs, why would society want you to just, think about your personal security, health and well-being, stable environment, financial security, and safety nets? Well, particularly because, again, like, you are not thinking about creating the next revolution to overthrow the government and essentially make the powers of be not be in power, So like it all comes down to control, power, and these, aspects of society. And it is very important that you just break through these first two components, two layers of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So even if you don't have $100,000 in your bank account, you can still have the self-actualization frequency. Okay, like it's not a money thing. Again, it's purely a mindset, and then everything else comes. Okay, so if you find yourself, sliding towards the safety slash needs, just remember it's okay, and you have to start from the top, and then you'll be fine, because everything else starts with, again, internally, and then externally things manifest for you. Okay, so the next thing is love and belonging. So family, friendship, community, relationships, romantic relationships, groups, affection, intimacy. Oh man, even this itself is being torn at its own like fabric, right? Although human beings are extremely resilient creatures, and I believe that community is starting to make a rise both digitally and in person. And it's because, again, we're such tribal people and Homo sapiens that we grew up in hunters and gatherers and tribes, and that's how we evolved to this point. So it's our biological imperative to essentially continue to be with people, right? So the love and belonging really talks to being with others and being social. And you can see it right now in terms of the dating market and how tough it is in the States, at least, to date, find love. And, we think we have a 50% divorce rate at this point. That in itself and there's so much risk to marriage. As a man, I'm talking to men specifically, and women, of course, but I have a perspective of being a masculine man, so I will have to talk from that. Essentially, you are risking your entire assets in a marriage. Obviously, there is the prenup, but let's say your partner doesn't even want to do that. Like, you could potentially have half of your assets taken, which you worked your entire life for, which is insane. So I'd like to think that right now society is ripping the fabric of love and belonging, but human beings are tenacious and resilient enough to fight and really hang on to this, because inherently we all want love and belonging. We are all born into families, and as kids, I feel like we radiate love without knowing it, and then we grow up again to be conditioned to dislike others due to certain features like skin color or affiliations to other communities, and it's just like turf wars. But at the end of the day, we are all human beings, and we are all connected from that point. And if we can unify on the fact that we are all humans and we should love each other for that, I think the world would be a better place. But hey, I think we have a long life here to live, and that's the goal, is to unify humanity at the end of the day, and I believe it will happen in the future, and I hope to be a big part of that. But going on love and belonging, again, I do feel like it is in our current society in 2025, right now in this time period, it's really hard to love, because you're constantly thinking about, again, it's tied to the safety and needs, which is your financial security. So that the fact that love is being tied to like a lower component of the hierarchy speaks to what the conditioning is happening. And I think that's something we need to work on as a society. All right, so the next component is esteem. So self-respect, confidence, respect from others, reputation, recognition, and achievement. So esteem is a really beautiful thing because esteem comes out of merit. Okay? And when I say merit, I really mean just earning accomplishments and accolades and doing things where you're earning your value. And then getting recognized by others, of course. So esteem is when you're starting to get good at, say certain skills, and people recognize that in you and they see value in it, and they praise you for it. So that feeling of providing value to others is really where this comes from. If you think about it on a first principles level, it's contribution to the collective, and having the collective or other individuals realize that and be happy for you because they know that you are providing something of unique value that no other person could do. Now, I say that in the sense that, like, we are all unique and we all have a divine purpose in this world. It is up to you to find that purpose yourself. That's literally the first mission. And then after that, continue to pursue it. But I will say, if you find your authentic purpose, something that you're completely aligned to, then you will be the best at it because only you can do it. It was sent from God. It was something you were born with, right? So why are people drawn to like certain subjects? Some people are drawn to art. Some people are drawn to business, finance, XYZ, right? So I fundamentally believe we all have something unique to contribute to the world. And it's very important that we find that and contribute it. All right, so self-respect, again, self-respect really does come from contribution and seeing that contribution breed value and just being happy for yourself. So I would say for esteem, like, work on finding valuable skills that you can trade and people recognize in you. Okay? And then lastly, we have our self-actualization. Again, think of this as a spectrum of frequency. We're always sliding here and there. Even me, as long as I've been going on this spiritual journey, which technically has been since I was 16 years old. And I'm 26 now, so it's been 10 years of very, like, not hard, but like very introspective journeying through myself and finding out who I am as a human being and my soul, right? So at the end of the day, the self-actualization piece is where you want to be. And let's just read it out. Creativity, personal growth, moral development, pursuit of meaning, purpose-driven action, peak experience, joy, transcendence, insight. Okay, so self-actualization, again, comes to the point where you're truly not even thinking about anything other than your purpose. And it's really as somebody who I would fully say that I live within self-actualization probably 70% of the time. I'm a human being, of course. I'm a 26-year-old living in this crazy economy and world. I obviously slide on the lower components of the spectrum at times. But for the most part, my frequency lies within self-actualization. And that has led me to start businesses, make money doing things I love, meeting people who are on the same frequency, doing things that they're uniquely called for, and just building within mastery. And, if you don't know what I do for my profession, I own a creative marketing agency. Particularly, we began with paid advertising with some large markets: commercial real estate, telehealth medicine, health tech, digital education. Had over 35 clients at this point. Spent over, I would say, $30 million in advertising spend annually. and generated over $100 million in just lifetime value, right? So I know how it feels to, let's say, really just think about being creative and being on your purpose and just being so gung-ho and thinking about business slash your purpose in life as the only thing like that's on your mind, other than, you know, some relationships and things like that. But that is really truly where you reach a point of happiness, of joy, because you wake up every day and you're able to be creative. You're able to solve problems that you actually enjoy. You can wake up at 5 a.m. because you want to work. You can, you know, do things that normal people wouldn't do. Like, think about CEOs or entrepreneurs. And I really do try to like think about entrepreneurs a lot because obviously I'm within the business world and a spiritual person. But entrepreneurs usually work hard, very hard, particularly because they are leading companies and on their purpose. And that's all they're thinking about, right? So they are operating within that self-actualization frequency. And once you find that for yourself and understand, you know, what your purpose is, what you're meant to do on this earth, everything gets easier because you follow your intuition and you're just living every day on this highest timeline, right? I think maybe this channel will be centered on the highest timeline for a little bit, but that is how you reach your highest timeline. You have to be in a frequency of self-actualization, abundance. And again, the world is trying to push you on the lower ends of the spectrum, but you have to place yourself there on that creative mode, as we like to say. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I rambled a lot, but if you did watch to the end, you're a trooper, and I really appreciate you. Give me some positive engagement so I can continue making these videos, and hopefully one day we can make a large impact on the world, you know, because I think that everybody should have the opportunity to live within the self-actualization frequency. I think is truly what we are meant to do as souls, as human beings who are on this planet, on this server. You know, help one another, contribute to the collective, enjoy our experience here because we don't live forever. Although maybe we will see people living past long lifetimes, kind of back in like the biblical days with technology and whatnot. But thank you again, and I will be signing out of this transmission. I hope that it provided some value to you in your world. And yeah, I will see you next time on the next video.